Hello, everyone. My name is Lorenzo Robinson,
I'm Moxon Glosson.
and welcome to episode 3 of the second season of RU Sports Speaks. So, Moxon, we've been gone for a while. A lot of things have happened. Of course, we got to start off with the college football playoff and how everything transpired. Just
Yes.
first game, we had Cincinnati versus Alabama, with Alabama coming out on top, 27-6. What are your thoughts on that game?
I think Cincinnati certainly deserved to be there. You and I had an extensive discussion about how cheated they would have been if they ended up going 13-0 in the regular season, and they did.
Definitely.
And so they definitely deserved to be there. Arguments can be made for other teams, but I feel like they got in. All four teams were in the correct positions, and all four teams deserved to be in. And it's no different for Cincinnati. I think Alabama certainly has better players than Cincinnati, but they also were outcoached. Cincinnati was. It was clear that Saban knew that Cincinnati secondary was really strong with Kobe Bryant and Gardner back there.
Yeah.
So, to me, him having Brian Robinson rush for however much he rushed for 200 or 300 yards, to me just showed how much he studies. He doesn't take any team for granted. I know there's this whole narrative that Group of Five's nowhere near Power Five, which has merit. But I mean, we saw Cincinnati destroy the only two Power Five teams they played this season. They were a really good team, but Alabama was just that much better. And I was surprised at the beginning, did not see Bryce Young taking too many downfield passes. But from that first drive, they just dominated from there on. And it was mostly running. They just stuck to the ground, which they didn't do against Georgia because they knew how strong Georgia's front seven were. So I thought that was very, very good coaching, as usual, by the GOAT, Nick Saban. I think I wasn't super surprised by the score. I thought Alabama would score a little bit more, and I thought Cincinnati would score a little bit more. It was a little bit low scoring, but I knew we'd have to face them again in the Natty for sure.
Yeah, so we're definitely gonna get to that. Trust me.
Yeah.
But a little bit about this game. I was definitely on the Cincinnati bandwagon. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I was
I know.
riding. I was riding hard for them. I
I
felt
know.
like they deserved to get in.
Yep.
And of course, they went 13-0 throughout the 12-0 in the regular season. Won their conference championship game.
Against
Blowout
a good
win
Houston
against
team.
A really good Houston
A really
team.
good Houston team.
A very deserving college football playoff participant Cincinnati was.
Yes.
So, them losing to Alabama isn't the worst thing in the world because, I mean, when we look at the teams that Alabama has played in these semifinal games, with the exception of Ohio State a few years ago, what was that, 2015,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of that, we've seen Alabama just absolutely destroy all of these teams in that semifinal round. I remember what
Yep.
they did in Michigan State.
I remember that.
in
They
the,
just killed them.
Yeah, and what they did in Notre Dame was pretty bad as well.
Washington.
Yeah,
a few
what they
years
did
back.
to Washington. So, I mean, these teams play them in the semifinal round, and they most of the time they lose. Most of the time it's by large margins. What I will say about Cincinnati is I think Cincinnati defensively did a pretty good job on stopping Alabama at what they like to do.
I would totally
What Alabama likes to do is they like to get the ball downfield. They have Bryce Young. They have a lot of good weapons. Jamison Williams. They have a few younger guys. Talking about Brooks. Talking about Latu. Talking about Ajayi Hall. Guys like that who, they kind of sprinkle them in. They've been getting more and more playing time as the year goes on. They like to get those guys involved. So I think that's a testament to Cincinnati's really good defensive back core that Alabama didn't really try them too much going down the field. Now, this is where we get into the Power Five versus the Group of Five debate because Cincinnati looked a little outmatched up
Right.
front, but I
Right.
guess
They did, and
we
they
all
were.
could have guessed that coming. We all could have
Yes.
seen that coming, right? I mean, yeah, they just don't get the same caliber of athletes up front as the SEC schools get. This is where the people who bang the table for the SEC, they're like, that's SEC football. I guess you're right, that's SEC football. So I felt like Cincinnati would put up a little bit better of a fight. I thought Alabama wouldn't come in with giving those guys in the back end with the proper respect, talking about Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant, but they definitely respected them. They kept the downfield passing to a minimum, and they ran to the tune of over 300 yards. So, I mean, you got to give them and their O-line credit as well. Their O-line had been talked about down for much of the season.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Especially after that Auburn game and after the LSU game. Those two games were against teams who, on paper didn't really have very high-quality defensive linemen, and those defensive lines really made life pretty tough, especially for them to be able to not be able to run the ball in those games. So their O-line definitely came to play in the SEC Championship and carried that momentum into the Cotton Bowl. So the next playoff game, Orange Bowl, UGA 34, Michigan 11.
Yes.
Kind of caught me off guard just a little bit. I mean, I knew I had a feeling that Georgia was going to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the talent that they have as a team, as a complete team. I just felt Michigan would put up a better fight. I really liked what they were able to do, getting their guys, Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum, involved in the run game throughout the season.
Yep.
I think both of them rushed for over 1,000, or I think Corum was like right there near 1,000. I know he got hurt for a few games, but he was definitely on pace for 1,000.
Yes.
They like to run the ball. Of course, Georgia's strength defensively is that front line group, that front seven. So I knew that would be very tough. McNamara didn't really seem too comfortable all night when it comes to throwing the ball. And he wasn't really asked to throw the ball downfield too much throughout the season. So Georgia, being coached by Dan Lannon and Kirby Smart on that defensive side of the ball really made it difficult for them. And then Georgia offensively, Stetson Bennett has been talked about a lot. He's been downed a lot, but this was the quintessential Stetson Bennett top Monken type game, right?
Agreed.
Like being able to run the ball and keep the offense on schedule, opening up the quick passes to the outside, getting the ball in the hands of the athletes, and then a shot here and there mixed in. That pass to James Cook was pretty nice, but really just I think James Cook was actually their lead receiver that game too.
Yes.
So
he was our lead guy that game.
Yeah. So just wanted to stay on schedule. I think that's right up the wheelhouse of what Georgia wants to do offensively.
Yes.
So I think it was a complete game. Definitely a bounce back performance from that uninspired, we'll say, SEC championship performance.
Certainly. I think you hit the nail on the head with the type of game Georgia wanted to have with Michigan, and the problem with the whole. I'm so floored that Harbaugh beat Ohio State finally, because I was feeling bad for the guy. I really was at that point, and not many people like him. I don't know why. I mean, I
think he's a pretty good coach.
I think he's a good coach. Yeah. I was really, it was one of my favorite games of the season. Ohio State Michigan was awesome. But going into that game, I was like, well, Jim Harbaugh is not the kind of coach to deviate from his normal game plan. So what Michigan's going to try to do is play hard-nosed football against Georgia, which I don't know how well that's going to work against Georgia's defense, which we know was historically amazing.
That's a tough team to do, especially the kind of game that Michigan wants to play. You just said the kind of game that Michigan wants to play just went so perfect with the way that Georgia plays, right?
Yep.
That's what kind of scared me a little bit. But, I fell for it. I admit I fell for it a little bit. They beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
The way they came out and didn't have a letdown in the Big Ten championship game against Iowa, right?
Yep. It was. And if you remember correctly, when we were, I think it was episode 2 when we were talking, you were like, hey, Cincinnati's my dark horse. And I totally agreed with you to get into the playoffs. And I was like, watch for Michigan. That's all they got, and that was after they had been beaten by Michigan State. Yeah,
it was. That was a hot take at the time.
Yeah, I was like, if they find a way to beat Ohio State, they will have that momentum going into the championship game. And I don't see them, if they beat OSU, I don't see them losing to whoever gets in, whether it would have been Wisconsin or Iowa or whoever. And I'm like, you have to remember, they played in probably the toughest division in football collectively.
Yes, for sure.
Last year. I mean, Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, Michigan. I mean, that is a gauntlet, and
Penn
they only
State
lost one.
Penn State came in 4, and that was a really good Penn State
They
team.
were good.
Very well coached.
Yep. And they will be solid next year.
Yeah.
James Franklin's a good coach, but anyway, that whole issue of Michigan, I knew was going to. I didn't know, but I was confident was going to bite them in the butt against Georgia, just because they're going to try to play us. I'm a Georgia fan viewer. Sorry, they're going to try to play.
Just in case I didn't know.
Yeah, they were going to try to play Georgia at their own game, and I think that because they were just going to try to play hard-nosed ball, clock management, run, pass instead of pass, run like some other teams like to do. And I'm like, they're not going to be very effective against a vengeful, mad Georgia team. And you saw what happened. I think that was probably Stetson Bennett's best game he's ever played. And you were right, the quintessential Monken control time of possession, run the football, and when they stack the box, when they think you're going to run it, roll out with a play action type game that Monken likes to do. And Stetson Bennett knows. And I think his experience in the system showed in that game.
Definitely.
But yeah, I wasn't too worried about the Michigan game. I just knew we were going to have to face the Tide again. Yeah.
And right on cue, Georgia, Alabama, national championship game. It was touch and go for a while,
Yeah.
As our viewers have learned over the course of the last few episodes, you are a diehard Georgia fan. So I'm sure this was a very interesting time for you. Just going all the emotions, you know what I'm saying?
Well, if you can hear my voice, it's gone still. I don't have COVID. It's from screaming when Ringo picked it off.
Oh yeah.
I screamed myself hoarse, but it was amazing.
Just talking about this game. I mean, this is two teams we talk about. SEC football. This was every SEC fan's dream, right? Georgia, Bama, playing in the SEC championship game and running it back in the national championship. This is everything you want, right?
Yep.
All the history that these two teams have over the course of the past few years, with Kirby Smart going to Georgia, making them a powerhouse almost immediately, and being on that national stage, it just felt like they couldn't get over the hump that was Nick Saban in Alabama. So going against the giant, staring it in the eye, and being able to slay it for the first time, in a long time. I think it was 2007 the last time that you guys beat them.
It was, yep. I was in kindergarten at that time, but I still remember my dad screaming when Stafford threw the touchdown in overtime. I think it was in Tuscaloosa in overtime. But I mean, that Matt Stafford's playing on the Rams now, and he's like 30-something years old, so that goes to show you how long ago it was the last time we beat him.
Yeah, I think, things have changed so much since then. We've seen how Alabama's become the gold standard in college football, and how Georgia, has seen peaks and valleys throughout that time, but now they're on that level. And I think this was the game to solidify Georgia as being in that upper echelon of top college football programs.
Yes.
They've won a lot over the course of the past 5 years, over the course of Kirby Smart's tenure, but kind of like Ohio State getting that championship, going on that run, beating Alabama, beating Oregon.
Yes.
Being kind of like validation for them and what they do, and just Georgia winning so much and not being able to get over that hump.
Yep.
This was validation that, they are one of those programs now. Because Georgia's been good for a while, but you would always hear especially from Florida fans. I know you've heard it.
Yeah.
You haven't won national championship since the 80s. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you can't be an elite program. You don't win the big games.
Right.
And this was the validating moment that every Georgia fan wanted to see.
Right.
And it wasn't going to be a perfect game. Obviously, that's a tough team on the other side. It wasn't going to be a perfect game. Stetson Bennett made his mistakes. He definitely looked at times like a guy who was a walk-on when he came in. Sometimes he looked a little flustered, looked a little confused. But that defense kept you guys in the game. They played, I know they've probably given up less points. I know they pitched shutouts this season. I know they've probably had better counting stats in other games. But just moment and control of the game. I thought Georgia's defense controlled that game from start to finish.
Agreed.
Even when they were down, it didn't really feel like Alabama had any momentum because Georgia was so stout defensively. Alabama was getting drives, they were getting field goals.
Yes.
They weren't really being able to capitalize on certain things. They weren't able to run the ball effectively. I think Brian Robinson, who went absolutely crazy against Cincinnati, had 3.1 yards a carry.
Yeah, he was largely shut down. He didn't do horridly, but he did not do what he did against Cincinnati, that's for sure.
Yeah, and, I guess we have to address the elephant in the room. I wouldn't be, the Auburn fan that I am without addressing the elephant in the room that, Jamison Williams going down definitely did change the game plan a little bit for Alabama.
Totally agree.
They had to play. I talked about some of the younger guys that they like to get the ball to. Ajayi Hall, Brooks, a lot of those guys, Trayshawn Holden.
Yep.
Those guys had to play even bigger roles in this game. They like to sprinkle them in a little bit in some of those games to kind of, give a different look for the defense.
Right.
But in this game, those guys had to make the plays.
And, I mean, we both know that Mechie and Williams, they were the two guys. So, I mean, once I saw his knee go down, I was like, his ACL's gone.
Yeah, especially when I saw the replay.
Yeah, I saw something pop in there. I was like, well, his ACL's gone. And I can't stand, and I actually really like Jalen. He's awesome. I think he's a really, he's NFL caliber wide receiver. And I can't stand to see any players get injured at all, especially in a national championship game where you get to play on such a big stage.
Yeah, that's what you work for.
Exactly. It's never good to see, even if it's a team against mine.
Mm-hmm. It really felt bad for the guy, but then, Georgia fans everywhere kind of had to be like, I hope he's okay, but, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Definitely not wishing injury on anyone.
No.
But,
never.
Injuries are part of the game, and you just have to go out there and you got to win.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
you definitely would have heard it if you would have lost that game with him going down.
Right.
That definitely
would
would
have
have been
we beat
crazy.
you even without. Yeah. Oh, I know.
That definitely would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Had to give a shout out to Cameron Latu. He played really well. He stepped up. His first game really as the number one guy because everyone going down, he was kind of like the only one left. And, he didn't really, get too many targets last year because they were featuring Jaleel Billingsley in the offense a lot more. Billingsley had some of his issues throughout the offseason. Latu got the call, and he's answered, and he hasn't given the job up since he's been promoted.
Yep.
So you got to give him a lot of credit.
He caught that touchdown pass late as well. And it was after that fumble, which was one of the craziest plays I've ever seen. It rolled out of bounds, and the Alabama player, I can't remember who it was.
Brian Branch.
Yeah.
Sandy Creek High School, Tyrone, Georgia. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so you know him.
I don't know him, but I know about Sandy Creek. You know what I'm saying? I know that program.
That's awesome,
man.
That's
kind of what they do.
That's what you can bring to the table that I can never bring. I can't.
Patriots stand up. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. But yeah, I mean, he caught that, and I was like, oh man, he looks out of bounds, and then they put that second angle on. I was like, crap, he's not out of bounds.
That should be. I don't care what college football program you're a part of, whether you go to Alabama, you go to Reinhardt University. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the biggest don't give up on the play type play that you can show. Like, because you never know. Just right place, right time.
Yep.
Just picking up the ball, stepping in
just
bounds.
In case.
Like you never know. Right. I don't even think he knew that he was in bounds.
It didn't look, because he was kind of jogging, but he's like, I'm just going to pick up the ball.
Yeah, I'm just going to get the ball. He could have just let the ball go. Yep. We've seen plenty of guys see that ball and they just let it go, and it's not even a thought because it looks like it's going out of bounds. But just that was great. Even though they lost that game, that play will stand out to me a lot. And then also probably the play where I, felt like it was gonna, it was Georgia's night. Bryce Young drops back to pass. I believe the score was 26-18 at this time.
Yes.
I believe it was on a second down. Felt like Alabama, because we've seen it before. Alabama goes down and then they get the ball, and as an Auburn fan, I've seen it not too long ago.
Yeah. This season. Ridiculous game.
They get the ball back, and they're gonna march down the field, and that D line got some pressure, got in Bryce Young's face. Keely Ringo, who has Has had his issues, throughout the season. People saying at the back end was the weakest part of Georgia's defense. And,
Yep.
Specifically the corners who have been under a microscope because of how well the front seven is played.
And what Alabama did to our corners, especially Keely Ringo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keely Ringo stepped up. He made a play, and took that thing to the house. And you saw the emotion on Stetson Bennett's face. He was over there crying.
Yes, he was sobbing. Yeah.
That was nice to see. Even though I'm an Auburn fan and I don't really claim to be a Georgia supporter at all. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know you don't.
But I had to root for Georgia against Alabama. Number one, I hate Alabama. I'm an Auburn fan, of course. But, it's good to see a program like Georgia. They've done everything the right way. Kirby Smart came there, changed the culture almost immediately when they really needed a reset.
Yes.
And gave them
Absolutely.
a blueprint on how to succeed in the SEC. Because it's hard to go through that SEC grind playing all those teams with a lot of talent.
Without recruiting.
Yeah. Recruited well, and then, finally getting over the hump. So now Georgia officially takes its place as one of the college football
premier
bloods.
programs. Absolutely. And I'm very, very proud of Georgia. Hopefully this is one of many to come, which I believe we're going to get at least one more in the coming years, just because of the way our recruiting's been trending.
Yeah, you can't bet against them.
You can't. There's very few teams that you can't bet against at this point, and I think Georgia's one of them in terms of at least going to the playoffs or being a contender, yearly contender. I think Kirby Smart's elite recruiting is what sets him apart from a lot of other people. I think he learned that from the best. I think you know who we're talking about.
Saying it.
Yeah, I mean, Nick taught him how to build the team. So it's really cool to see after so many being almost there. And the game felt like the opposite of usual with Georgia versus Alabama, where the game Georgia's up, but it doesn't feel out of reach for Alabama, and you're just dreading when they can come back and win late in the fourth.
Definitely.
Or but it felt like, as you were saying, Georgia's defense was controlling that whole game. Every time we would only have them kick a field goal, I'd be like, I'll take it. Every time we forced them to a field goal, and I felt like the game was never out of our reach in this one instead of vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the biggest game plan change was us getting more pressure on Bryce Young, because we got exactly 0 sacks in the SEC championship on him, so he was able to sit in the pocket and pick us off. But not even just sacking him, because it's not like we sacked him 7 times like we did to Uyunglele, but we at least pestered him and got pressure on him enough to force him to make a couple bad decisions. One late critical mistake that allowed us to seal the game away for good. But yeah, there's nothing else left to argue against Georgia, because the big joke was 1980, right?
Yeah.
But that's gone now. I want to say to Florida fans, 2008. But
I know it feels good.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I'm glad that the narrative is. And I mean, I know I'm biased as a Georgia fan. I never understood the narrative, at least the wording of it, to where Georgia can't win the big game. It was really more, to me, Georgia can't beat Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, because
yeah,
I know I've said it a few times out of emotion.
Oh no, dude. Yeah,
but when you really look at it, it's not like Alabama's the only big game that they've had to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
They played my guys, Auburn. Those are big games. They
Yes.
played Kentucky in big games, Florida in big games. So
Yes.
I mean, yeah, a lot of us Georgia haters had to eat crow over these past few months, and to the point where we were on you guys' side against Alabama. So,
Yes.
Thank you for making us proud and taking down Alabama. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? It's a really just a really good program. You know what I'm saying? And just happy to see them finally reach that mountaintop. It's been a long time coming.
Same.
And kind of switching gears a little bit from the college football playoff to the NFL playoffs.
Keep going. Just checking it.
Yeah, so now My team, of course, for the NFL, the LA Chargers. Oh man, I don't even really want to talk about it, but I would be remiss if I didn't at least bring it up. You know what I'm saying? Just the way that. Oh man, just the way that we lost to the Raiders, man. The timeout with 30 seconds left by Brandon Staley, where it felt like the Raiders were gonna just run it and run the clock out for the tie, and then we called timeout. It almost seemed like we dared them not to go for the tie.
To not do it. Yeah.
And man, that was depressing. You know, I can't start talking about the playoffs without talking about what could have been.
Hey, and I don't blame you as a Chargers, you being a Chargers fan. And I've always liked the Chargers, and my family's Broncos fan, so they always get mad at me for liking the Chargers. But I'm like, I mean, there's not really an NFL team I hate besides, I guess, the Saints. I'm not a big fan of Saints fans.
Yeah, not a lot of people like the Saints.
Yeah.
Sorry, Saints fans.
Yeah,
sorry, you guys.
And as a Broncos fan, I can't stand Raiders either. Can't stand them. I'm a Raider hater for life. But it was heartbreaking, especially to see the Raiders being at best okay to mediocre the majority of the season, and them making that late run. As a Raiders fan, I'm sure Raiders fans were ecstatic about them making that run. But it's like so many one-possession games that the Raiders had at the end of the season that could have gone one way or another, and they just went the Raiders' way every time, and especially the Chargers debacle.
And when you look at just the teams that the Chargers beat, you know, like I could say, you know, that Houston game was a game that we definitely should not have lost.
Yes.
That's going to eat at me probably even more than the Raiders game, because it really felt like, especially with Houston having a lot of COVID absences and a lot of injuries, it really felt like that was a game where they just came in and thought they were going to win.
Yep.
And the NFL is any given Sunday, those guys get paid too.
Yep.
So, you know, you can't just go in and think you're going to beat other grown men, especially on the road. You know what I'm saying?
True.
They came and they played hard. But the Chargers on the road in Philly, who's in the playoffs, beat them. On the road in Cincinnati, who's in the playoffs, beat them. On the road in Kansas City, a team that is in the discussion for one of the best teams in football.
Some people have them winning it all.
Yeah. Beat them. The very Raiders team that they lost to on Sunday night, beat them by 2 touchdowns at home. So, just, you know, when you just look at the resume of the teams that they've beaten and then the stars on the team, it just feels so out of place to not have them in the playoffs. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a fan. It's just, I just feel like when you have such a great star in Justin Herbert, you feel like that guy should give you that chance. Justin Herbert played out of his mind, especially in that fourth quarter.
Yep.
Gave them every opportunity to win that game. But
dude's got a bright future.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the West Coast quarterback syndrome that makes people mistrust West Coast quarterbacks going to the NFL, like the Sam Darnold syndrome that some people talk about, but Herbert's a beast.
Yeah,
and there's no other way to put it.
Sometimes you get a Sam Darnold, sometimes you get Aaron Rodgers, you know what I'm saying?
Sometimes you get Aaron from Cal.
Yes, you know, it's just a toss-up, depends. But, you know, kind of going into the wild card round, the first game that we have on Saturday, I guess we're kind of obligated to talk about it, but you know where I stand. It's Bengals-Raiders. Raiders on the road in Cincinnati. And my fandom won't allow me to pick the Raiders, but, you know, just being a realistic person also, Cincinnati's on a tear right now. You look at Joe Burrow, he's playing some of the best football of his career. His past 3 or 4 games, he's been outstanding. He has weapons. T. Higgins, how can I forget the probable Rookie of the Year, Jamar Chase. And then Tyler Boyd, who's
his
been
best
there.
friend.
Kind of the
Boyd. Boyd, very
veteran,
very experienced guy. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then Joe Mixon, man. Joe Mixon out of Oklahoma, he's playing great. That defense gets opportunistic stops. They got Trey Hendrickson on the D line. You know, that's a pretty well put together team. So, you know, I think the Raiders, who haven't really played the best football all season, I know they've gotten hot.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't take anything away from them because of everything that they've had to deal with this year, from John Gruden to Henry Ruggs.
The email scandal. And,
and
Ruggs got in that DUI, didn't he? He had that DUI incident.
Accidentally, doing what he did. Very tragic situation. Them having to deal with all of that and be able to, Damon Arnett as well, one of their starting corners, also had to get kicked off of the team for a situation. So, they've dealt with so much. So, I mean, they're definitely resilient, if not anything. So it's not going to be an easy game for Cincinnati because we've seen the Raiders get knocked down literally and figuratively by football and by life, and we've seen them kind of rise above. But I think the buck stops here. I think the Bengals take out the Raiders this week.
I've got the Bengals moving on as well. That Joe Burrow's thrown for 300 yards in like 3 out of 4 last 4 games or something. I don't know how much hotter you can get as a quarterback going into the playoffs. He's got Jamar, he's got Tyler, and he's got Mixon to hand off to or throw to out of the backfield. He's got plenty of weapons. I don't think that the Raiders have the pieces to be able to go into any depth of the playoff right now, and that includes the wild card against the Bengals. It's just not a very good matchup for them. It's coming at a good time for them. You're right, they are hot, and they are obviously a really resilient team, but I just think Joe Burrow will torch him. I think that it'll be probably high 30s for the Bengals, low 20s for the Raiders. So it won't be an absolute stomp, but I don't think it'll be very close either. But I got the Bengals moving on.
Definitely. So the next game, staying in the AFC, we got the Patriots visiting the Bills.
Interesting game.
Yeah.
Very interesting game.
Those two teams, this is going to be the third time that they've played this year. The first game that they played, it was that, extremely cold, knock them out, drag them out type game. The Patriots only threw the ball, I believe, 3 times.
Yeah, and that was the one where Allen only threw for 13 yards or something crazy like that, right?
Mac Jones threw for like 19. I know Josh Allen didn't really have a great game as well.
Yeah. Oh, man,
that was a tough game to throw the ball in.
Yeah.
But, I have this theory about the Bills, right? I have to explain this before I give my pick. I have this theory about the Bills.
I got to hear it.
It's so interesting the way that they're built. They play in Buffalo, right, which is in New York, and it gets cold up there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's cold country, especially like in January.
Certainly.
Yes. That's snowy, frigid, cold games, right?
Yes.
When you look at the way they're built, with having Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Dawson Knox, having all these weapons, and the way that they run their offense kind of wide open, they like to throw the ball a lot.
Yep.
They're kind of built like a warm weather team. Like
it's interesting.
It's crazy when you think about it. They're kind of built like a team that wants to play warm weather. I think if they would have went on the road in L.A. or Vegas, I think they would have had a really good
chance.
Yeah, I mean.
See, I thought you were going to say, like, Stephon Diggs played in Minnesota. He's used to cold weather, and Josh Allen's from Wyoming. But I was like, actually, they do run a West Coast offense.
When you really think about it, they're kind of built like a warm weather team.
Yeah.
So, even though the Bills are at home, it's going to be very cold, I would believe. And, January game, playoff game in Buffalo, it's going to be very cold. Patriots are a defensive team. They're ground and pound. You know what I'm saying?
Point. Yeah.
It might be. It might be tough for the Bills. You know what I'm saying? I think this is the kind of game that Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels and those guys. I think this is the type of game that they want to be in. You know what I'm saying?
I would agree.
With all of that being said, I have the Buffalo Bills moving on by a touchdown. I think the Bills are just so talented. I think that they're hungry. I think they heard all the noise from earlier in the season when a lot of people counted them out, especially after that Patriots game.
Yep.
The way that run defense. The run defense didn't really play too bad considering the Patriots ran the ball so much. But I think after that post-game press conference where they were talking to a few of their leaders and, they asked them, man, the run defense, what's the deal with that? Micah Hyde and Jordan Boyer and those guys got mad. I think defensively it kind of it's given them a newfound sense of, hunger and passion. I think they just want to prove to the world that, they're not defined by that game. And they haven't lost since. Well, they went into Tampa Bay and lost. Yes. They haven't lost since that game. Tampa Bay's a hard place to win.
I was about to say, and they're a good team.
Yeah. So, but, they haven't lost since then. So I think the Bills are gonna take some of the momentum that they have going through the regular season, going from the regular season. I think they're gonna win by a touchdown against the Patriots.
The Bills do have momentum, and a lot of the same points that you said, I'm using to support my theory that the Pats come away with a close win. I'm talking like a 16-13 or 13-10 type game. Cold, weird weather. You're right. That's a good theory with Bills being built for warm weather. But I think this is what Belichick wants, a snowy chess match with a lot of running. With that Patriots defense giving up like 17 point something, can't remember, points a game, one of the best defenses in the league numerically speaking. I like their chances. I don't think it's going to be something like Mac Jones throwing for 19 yards type game again, because that was just weird. That was an anomaly. But I also think that the Patriots are better built and they have the better coach to do it. I think it'll be a close, really low scoring, especially for NFL, like really low scoring game. But I think the Patriots will come out with the win.
Yeah, I'm going out on a limb. Out of everything that I said, it definitely felt like I was going to pick the Pats.
I know. Yeah, I was like, he's got the Pats. He's going to take it.
I just, I believe in Josh Allen. I believe in those weapons, and it might be quicker passes. It might be trying to just get the ball in the hands of the playmakers. But I think that the defense will play well enough, and they have just more guys that can step up offensively to give them just enough of an edge, in my opinion.
Yeah. That was a tough pick, though.
Definitely. I can see that going either way.
Oh, me too. Absolutely. I won't be surprised if Bills
Third
win.
time's a charm type game, too.
Yes.
It's hard to beat a team twice. But, one of them has to win now. It's the playoffs. So, it's definitely going to be fun. Moving on to a game that I don't think will be much fun.
Oh, yeah. This one's easy.
Eagles on the road in Tampa Bay. Now, Philly is a pretty good team. They've ever since kind of like midway through the year where it was like, wow, like, why are you not running the ball? You have Miles Sanders. You have a pretty good offensive line.
Yeah.
You have a running quarterback. Why are you not running the ball? Why are you not utilizing that aspect of your offense? And it just seemed like first-year coach Nick Sirianni was like, oh, maybe I should run the ball.
Maybe I'll try it. Yeah.
And all they've done since then is become the number one rushing attack in the NFL.
Yeah.
Having so many guys who can contribute in the running game, oh, man,
Is that me or you?
That was me.
Oh.
We'll take that out.
We'll cut that out.
Just having so many guys that can run the ball, talking about Miles Sanders, talking about Boston Scott, talking about Kenneth Gainwell, Jalen Hurts, of course, running quarterback. They can really get downhill and get their running game involved.
Yes.
With that being said, Tampa Bay, led by the GOAT at quarterback. Defensively, I think they're starting to get back some of their key guys.
They're solid. They're solid.
And then, obviously, not having Chris Godwin for the rest of the season is going to hurt. And the AB saga is, taking away another prime weapon for them.
Oh,
but
man, yep.
I think they have just enough to be able to beat Philly. More than enough to beat Philly, actually.
Yeah.
I think that they've been here before. They know what to do. And I think Philly will make it interesting for a half. I think Tom Brady always does a good job of almost, playing rope-a-dope with his opponent, especially in the playoffs. Give him a little bit of hope. I think that it'll be a good game for a little bit. But
yeah.
I think Tampa Bay is going to pull away in that second half and probably get some of their starters out in the fourth. I think it'll be that kind of game.
Yeah. Yeah, Tampa Bay will win handily here. I think Jalen Hurts has been a very, very pleasant surprise for Eagles fans, especially second half of the season.
Definitely.
But I also think that, you take young Jalen Hurts, running quarterback, doesn't really have much playoff experience, or any, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you take Tom. I can't pick against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's kind of my team I'm keeping my eye on. And, yeah, with Tom. But, as you said, they're starting to get their defense built back up at the right time. They're going to miss Chris. They're going to miss AB, although I don't even know if they're going to miss AB. He brings more trouble than he's worth sometimes. But I like Tampa Bay here big.
I feel you on that. Now we have a game that I think will be in contention for game of the week. The the Niners on the road in Dallas.
Yep.
That is going to be a game right there.
Yep. We all know everyone hates Cowboys fans.
Oh yeah, yeah. Some of the worst fans,
On
no
the planet.
apologies for that.
No.
I know I have
they're
family.
bad.
A lot of family who are Cowboys fans. You guys are cool, but some of the other ones who are pretty obnoxious about it. Man, I'm sorry, not sorry. You know what I'm saying? But we're looking at the Cowboys and the Niners. The Niners, led by Jimmy Garoppolo, they have two of the best skill players in the game. When we talk about Deebo Samuel at receiver
And my man, Kittle.
George Kittle.
Beast.
You gotta love George Kittle.
And Deebo. He's a beast, too.
Yeah.
I love George.
Deebo Samuel might be the best receiver, running back, and quarterback on the team. That kind of
He's an
versatility.
athlete, yeah.
And then George Kittle being, just the perfect all-around tight end.
Yes.
He's almost like a third tackle out there blocking, and then he could go out and he could, make plays in the passing game. You can't underestimate, understate his impact to that team, especially, not just on the field but off the field with his leadership. And then we look at Dallas. It's been talked about many times, the multitude of weapons they have on offense. You got Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard in the backfield. You got Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb out wide. You got Dak Prescott, doing what he can do. And then you have a defense that's much improved. Michael Parsons and Trayvon Diggs stepping up big for him. This is going to be a very interesting game. I do lean towards Dallas in this one. I think they just have just a little bit more talent. And I would like to think that I can trust Dak Prescott a little bit more in the playoffs than Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, the Niners have made a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, so he's more than capable of stepping up in the playoffs if need be. But I'd like to believe that I can trust Dak Prescott just a little bit more. And Dallas being a team that likes to create turnovers, I think that they'll make one or two plays that'll change the whole complexion of the game. So, I have Dallas coming away with a win in this one.
Similar to the Pats-Bills points that you made, I'll use the same points and argue for the Niners. Well, I guess kind of it's two sides of the same coin here because they do have the pieces, but I feel like the Niners were here just a couple years ago. I mean, they tore through everyone up until Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs just a couple years ago with mostly the same pieces, if I'm not mistaken, including Jimmy G. I think it largely depends on what Jimmy G you're going to get. Are you going to get inconsistent, imploding Jimmy G, or are you going to get accurate and consistent Jimmy G? I feel like the Niners are that one, underrated team, like low on the seeding, underrated wild card team. They're my dark horse, along with the Bengals in this playoff, in this 2021-2022 playoff. I don't see them having any glaring issues besides maybe, of course, what I said about Jimmy G and maybe their secondary a little bit. But they've got Kittle, they've got Deebo, they've got all the offensive pieces they need. And I don't see they're built. If they wanted to, if they really, really went for it, they could go for a deep run. I feel like. I think they'll go into Dallas. And again, Dallas just has to prove to me that they're capable of going deep in the playoffs.
Definitely.
Because they really haven't made it past the divisionals in a long time, even getting there.
I'm not sure in my lifetime.
Yeah. Well, I think it's been since the year 2000. I think you and I were both born around that time.
Yeah.
I can't. And I know it's been different Dallas teams, but it's just like with Georgia. Until you get over the Alabama hump, we're not going to trust you.
It's always going to be like,
and we're not betting for you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I love Dak. I think Ezekiel and Pollard are one of the best 1-2 combos around. But I like Jimmy G to have a really good game. I like Kittle to have a couple touchdown catches in this game. And hush the annoying Dallas fans. And I've got close family friends that are from the Fort Worth area, and they're huge. I know they're big Cowboys fans. So I hope they don't watch this podcast.
like I said, family, we're sorry. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
we
love
are.
you
We are
guys.
sorry.
We love you guys.
Don't get mad at us.
So moving on to a game, from one of the best games to what I believe will be one of the worst games, Pittsburgh on the road in Kansas City.
This will be the worst one. This will be the worst.
I have a lot of respect for Mike Tomlin and for that defense.
One of my favorite coaches ever.
And Big Ben still just being able to play at this age.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Just to be able to keep playing. Najee Harris, as a rookie, has burst on the scene and done really well. Behind the not so great offensive line, he's really done a good job of finding his way in the NFL. I think he's had a pretty solid season. Deontay Johnson has stepped up big at receiver when they really needed it. They've lost a lot of receiving weapons over the course of the last 5-6 years.
Yep.
You talk about the Antonio Brown saga, giving up Martavis Bryant because he couldn't stay on the right track.
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster getting hurt earlier in the season, so they had a need for another guy to kind of step up for them, and Deontay Johnson has filled that void.
Yeah.
T.J. Watt tying Strahan's record, and he did it in 16 games, not even 17.
Not 17.
So he did it in 16. So that's legit. T.J. Watt, presumably a first-team All-Pro, a guy
he will be,
and who's in the race for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
But I'm just giving the Steelers and all of their really good players, Micah Fitzpatrick as well. Can't forget him. Another Bama guy.
Micah.
Just giving them their flowers now, though, because I have a feeling we won't be seeing much more of them.
No way.
The Chiefs don't really, we don't really need to say too much about the Chiefs. We know who they are: Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
Improved defense. Feels like defense gets better every year. So, yeah, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to beat the Steelers pretty handily.
Yeah. Totally agree. Pittsburgh, Big Ben's one of my favorite players of this era just because of how good of a guy he is and just how he's really been the face of the franchise for so long, and he's still playing. He could have retired long ago if he wanted to.
Yeah.
He's just been always been one of my favorites. But Patrick has been here before. He's won one before. So's Andy. So is Reek. So has Kelsey. I don't see Pittsburgh coming anywhere near beating Kansas City. I think Kansas City will outplay them on both sides of the ball. They're just much better built, and they match up well against Pittsburgh. And Patrick will have a pedestrian 300-yard game or something like that, and that's pedestrian for Patrick. Well, I guess not this year, at least at the beginning of the year, but that's another story. I think KC will handily win this game. They are like you said, they're the Chiefs. There's not much to say.
Yeah,
they're one of the best.
The Chiefs are the Chiefs.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Chiefs are the Chiefs. And finishing off another game that'll be up there in contention for game of the week. And, it's the first time I've ever seen this. Have you ever seen them play a playoff game on a Monday night? I don't recall that ever being the case.
I don't believe so. I know, like Raiders and Bengals are playing on Saturday, and I think they've done that before, but I don't think they've ever done Monday night. I could be wrong, though.
Yes, that's pretty interesting.
It
but,
is.
Cardinals, Rams, Monday night football. Big stage. The biggest stage there is Monday Night Football.
It's the only one on, so everyone's going to be watching it.
On ESPN, two divisional rivals. When we talk about the Cardinals, we're talking about a team that started off the year so high. I think they were like 7-0. And, man, we talk about just between injuries and just between getting worn down, the wear and tear of the season, losing J.J. Watt, who really stepped up to be their leader, you know what I'm saying? Like, on that D-line and him going down, I think we could see the direct correlation to the way that they played when J.J. Watt was in the lineup to the way they played when he wasn't in the lineup. Just, from a passion perspective and from a want-to perspective, it just didn't seem like it was there in some of those games. They just felt like something was missing.
Yep.
I think going into Dallas was huge for them because it kind of gave them that feeling like, oh, we can beat teams like this.
Yes.
Playoff type teams.
Yep.
And obviously they lost last week to Seattle. I think Seattle's much better than their record. I think that Russell Wilson going down kind of threw off their rhythm.
Yeah.
If he didn't go down, I think they would be right in the mix for a playoff spot, definitely.
Wild card, they'd be in the wild card mix with him, I would think.
Yeah, that's a tough team to play, and then they're playing only to spoil your season at that point, so that's always tough. Yeah, that's always tough. So, I don't really hold that loss too much against them. The Rams have been my pick to go to the Super Bowl throughout the season. I really like their team. I love Sean McVay. I love Matt Stafford. Cooper Kupp has stepped up and just played. He's probably had the best wide receiver season, that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Probably since Megatron and what he did in Detroit. Common denominator Matthew Stafford, just saying.
Yeah.
So, Jalen Ramsey on defense, Aaron Donald, Von Miller up front. I mean, the Rams are stacked, man.
You read all these names off, and you're like, oh, yeah, they all play for different teams.
Yeah.
You think that, and then you're like, oh, wait, they're
Rams,
just that stacked.
Yeah, like top-end talent, just top-end name-brand talent. There's not a lot of teams who can say that they have more guys like that than the Los Angeles Rams. And I think this will be a really good game. Another situation, third time's a charm. Two teams who've seen each other twice already. Split those games.
Two good games.
Two really good games.
Yeah.
Split those games. I'm going to pick the Rams in this one by the slimmest of margins. And I love the Cardinals. I really like Kyler Murray.
Me too.
And I love what Cliff Kingsbury does on offense with trying to get his guys the ball. And I do think that if J.J. Watt recently got activated off of IR with, his, multitude of injuries to his shoulder, which is crazy. Like, I can't believe he came back.
Dude just
so
can't
soon.
Not be injured. I swear, the poor guy. He can't get off the medical or the hospital bed.
Yeah, but he comes back quicker than I've ever seen. Like, he's a machine, Like, if he could just stay in it, you know what I'm saying? But I think that this will be a really good game, but I'm leaning towards the Rams in this one in L.A. Christen SoFi Stadium with the first playoff win.
Yes.
So I got the Rams.
I'm leaning Rams on this one too. I think we both concluded way back before Thanksgiving we were like, and this is of course before Green Bay went on just went complete God mode and ended up 13-4. With Aaron Rodgers playing the best of his life. But they're too stacked to bet against right here. They now know with with Matthew Stafford having that connection and having all of those pieces and having so many, you have Jalen Ramsey on one end, but you have Cooper Kupp and all those other really strong receivers on the other end. I think this is going to be a shootout. I really do, because I think both teams are just going to go at it offensively. I think Cliff Kingsbury is going to do some sneaky, counter-directional plays and get a couple of touchdowns on that. I really want this to be like one of my favorite NFL games ever, that Chiefs-Rams game a few years ago where it ended up being in the 50s, like 54-51 or something.
Yeah, that Monday night game.
Yeah. Monday night, and I watched the whole thing. It was special, and I've always wanted something else like that. Just a complete shootout with two great offensive minds, McVay or Kingsbury, and I want to see him go at it. I really do. And I think the Rams will come away with this one, but it'll be like 3 or 6 point win. I think it'll be, like you said, a slim margin.
Yeah, yes, the NFL playoffs is so wide open. There's so many good teams this year. It's not really like that ultra dominant team per se. I mean, Green Bay really stepped up and rattled off some wins, but I don't really see them as such a crazy dominant team that can't be gotten. I think they can.
I would agree.
I think they can be had. Just because we've seen them go down to NFC Championship games so many times. You know, all respect to Aaron Rodgers, but for some reason it just seems like they can't get over that hump.
Yeah,
I know they've done it one time
just
in
once.
His career, but it's just so hard to just outright pick them for me, just because I've seen it happen so many times. And then,
I'm glad you're saying this, because so many people across the board reporters, analysts are like, it's Green Bay's to lose,
Yeah, like have we not learned
our
anything?
lesson.
Like it seems like
Makes
they
me feel
always
better.
get to that point, but man, it's tough. And in the AFC, the Titans end up with the 1 seed, and I don't even know if they can. I don't even know if they win the divisional round. Depending on who they play. Like if they play the Bengals, that's going to be a tough matchup for them.
Yeah.
So I mean, the NFL's wide open. College football playoff, Georgia winning. It's been a very interesting time in sports. I can say
Agreed.
that.
Yep.
Very interesting time in sports. Well, I'm Lorenzo Robinson,
I'm Moxon Glosson.
and this has been the 3rd episode of season 2 of RU Sports Speaks.
Thanks, everyone.